Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I want to welcome you to another installation of Zoom In on the Halal Metropolis. This morning, I'm talking to Mike Sareini, who is on the City Council of Dearborn. Good morning, Mike. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good morning, Sally. Thank you for having me.
So I wanted to ask Mike, well, first, how are you doing? How's your family doing?
Thank you, Sally, for asking. And I wanted to start by thanking you for this. I know when we talked, you said to me, ask your mom. And I did ask my mom. And she's like, oh, Sally is well rooted in the community and does a lot of good work, because you never know when people call for interviews what's going to happen. So it was really
well, I'm glad to know that I got the Suzanne Sareini seal of approval.
You got it. You got a thumbs up. And she said absolutely. And I really was. And thank you for sending me some of the links. And I don't know how I didn't see some of those in the past, but really informative. And I appreciate the work you're doing, because it is really important for the community and the city to know what's going on and things that are happening. So I really appreciate it. And I'm glad I had the opportunity to meet you, talk to you, and get on the show. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, so tell me what's happening in Dearborn. Both with COVID and also, what it's been like to govern in this period. And then also, I know this is an election year in the city, and there are just so many issues that are really important right now. So tell me what's going on.
Well, thank you for that. I'll tell you the COVID issue. Thank God everybody is healthy. My mom got her shot, first one. She's getting the second one next week, so that's great. I can tell you, the city's been really, proactive, which is really good. And if you see a lot of things that the city has done, and that's what's so great about being part of Dearborn, there was a lot of talk about consolidation of dispatch centers in the state, and Dearborn was the first one to get on board with that. And now we have a thriving center. And on the COVID, the same thing. That leads me into what I wanted to speak to on the COVID aspect, so you can understand. I did actually a CD TV show last week in Dearborn on our COVID center in the Civic Center. And it's incredible what we had to do through our fire chief Murray, to get authorized and certified by the state. They have freezers. I did a whole show on it. Everything's ready to go. We're waiting for the vaccine like everybody. And but what's great is that we're ready to go. Not only early on, too, our police chief, Chief Haddad, was able to secure one of those very, very sought after rapid Abbott test machines. Mm-hmm. And we had lines down Michigan Avenue. We were testing all first responders. He did a tremendous job. And then we partnered with CVS pharmacy, and we had clinics on in our library drive-throughs. So we have done everything that I believe we could do as a city to make sure our residents are safe and give them proper information. And more importantly, get them some recourse where they can actually get tested. And now we're ready for the vaccine. So on that front, I think with the new administration and the government as well, forcing more and more vaccines to be put out, and people are developing them. The other day I heard Johnson & Johnson is having one soon that's going to be a one shot as opposed to a two. I think it's great. And I wish we could do more. I allocated funds on the council for our first responders to get combat pay in April and May of last year. And my colleagues supported it. And, they're out there, at the worst times. And as you know,
yeah, we saw it really affected at the county level in particular. The law enforcement community was, obviously affected all the way to the very top,
Yeah. And thank God too, as a legislator too, people say, well, you're spending extra money. That's their job. But I know people appreciated it. But more importantly, we were able to get back almost all of that money through our state and federal funding. So we did recoup back that money. So it didn't cost the taxpayers more. And, it's hard, when you could stay home and someone else just can't, and so you have to put that into perspective. And I thought it was well warranted, and I'm glad that I was able to do that. So on the COVID front, I think we're heading in the right direction, and I believe we're leading. We're not sitting back, and we're taking lead on it. That center, the way it's set up, it's incredible. The rooms that they have and the openness, and all our EMT and firefighters are ready to go and trained and certified by the state. And it's not an easy process, Sally. It's cumbersome to get a site approval.
And I'm sure there's a huge amount of regulation. but also
Right.
it's just the community, the Dearborn community, really specifically Dearborn and Dearborn Heights, have been really affected by the pandemic too. So it's not just
That's
the law
true.
enforcement, the virus has really affected the population here too. So I'm really happy to see that Dearborn has been able to be proactive like this. That's fantastic. Tell me about things like home ownership and people having like rent relief and mortgage relief.
Well, yeah, a lot of that we did. We were really partnering up with the county. As you know, Sally, you probably do know, a lot of the grants when your work probably you remember too, to access and so on. A lot of the grants get funneled through the cities, but through the county. So we have a great relationship with, our commissioner, Sam Baydoun, and the county, and Warren Evans. So we were always, as soon as things were available, like just last week, we had another round of grant and CARES Act funding. We put that out to all our businesses. Even, I don't want to misquote Sally, but one of the stats, Dearborn people that applied were like the majority of the people that received the grant funding. So we have been doing everything we can to disseminate the information and make it easier in helping people to get these grants and to get these reliefs, so that they wouldn't have, the foreclosures and so on and so forth. And our attorney general, I worked with her on her transition team. There's no way that's going to happen during these times. She's
She's a
tough, and
yeah,
yeah,
she's a dynamo.
she
She's
she is.
amazing.
And
Yeah.
yeah, she's not going to let that stuff happen. So we didn't have those issues. So thank God.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, it's so clear to me, and especially like we're looking at what's happening in Texas this week,
Oh, yeah.
local government is what makes your life livable. It really is. The
No,
local
no
government is
question.
so important. And we're seeing, a major failure in local government in a lot of places down in Texas, which is just horrifying to watch. But
Yeah.
it does just remind me of how important the work you do is. So
Yeah.
so tell me what the big issues are on the ballot this year in Dearborn.
Yeah, Sally, there's a lot of issues this year. And, unfortunately, it's all coming together at the same time. So I hope the residents can wrap their head around it. So just to break it down for you, what's so great about Dearborn too, I like this aspect, is that the city council is all one time. So there's no staggered terms. All 7 of us are up for the same time. The mayor's up at the same time. The city clerk's at the same time. And it's always separate from any gubernatorial race or presidential race. So you really get the people of your city to come out and vote for those. And there's no ballot. There's no party identification or anything. It's an independent, run and nonpartisan ballot. So it's great. So this year we have a new mayor for sure, because our mayor has announced that he's not running. We're going to have 7 council people. I'm not sure how many are going to rerun, but there's going to be from vacancies for sure. And then there's a clerk who's I felt has done a very good job, is going to be rerunning for his second term. But I also think there's also several very, very, very important issues. So, for example, the charter, which is like our Constitution, every 10 or 12 years goes on the ballot, and we ask the residents, do you want to review it? So I am very, very strong proponent of the review of the charter. I think there's a lot of things that are unclear and are left to interpretation that need to be streamlined, and the duties of the council, I think, can be delineated much better. So that's up. So you got a charter provision, and that's a 2-stage, Sally. So first in August, they're going to vote, should we renew it? And then there's going to be 7 or 10 panels of people that will be running in November to form a charter commission that will have 2 years to come up with a new charter or a revisions to the charter. So I think that's a tremendous thing. So that charter's on there.
Mm-hmm.
You got our elections on there, but then you got 2 other ballot initiatives which are very crucial. Okay, and one is a library millage, which is one mill, and you also have a 3.5 mill emergency mill that was put to the voters twice now, and that's coming up for assessment or voted in, to the residents. So that's a tremendous amount. You're talking about 4.5 mills of taxes, so, and a complete election of everybody, and a new charter at the same time. So
yeah, and
there's
I
a
know
lot out there.
the tax issue in Dearborn has gotten, I'm just really hearing a lot of complaints about the taxes, homeowner taxes that people are paying. Yeah, so I'm sure this is
Well,
going to be a hot button political issue, year for you guys.
I agree with you, Sally. And, and I've been fighting that for years, but some people on the council have said that there's no issue with the taxes and there's no problems and we give great value. And I disagree, and there's other people that say that, if you cut taxes, you have to cut services. And, I was born and raised in here. I don't believe that, I believe we could do much better in day-to-day operations and management to give superior services and get more for our tax dollars. So I have been fighting that fight since I've been on the council. I never understood how, they bring us budgets that are $4 and $5 million over budgeted every year, and we only have, 20 or 15 million in reserves. And I would say all the time when we get applause, hey, we did great, we got $1 million extra, our job is to get as close to zero as possible. We're not supposed to be stashing money away. I mean, that's the taxpayer money. Well, so it's been an issue.
Was your tax base affected this last year? Because I know the states has just been devastated.
Yeah, well, our revenue sharing is what's going to be hurting, and that's the biggest issue. So our revenue sharing, and that's what people don't understand too, is that not only do we have millages, but that's how we do it. Like, for example, the charter has a limit of how much tax we can charge. But what happens is what's happening is the people are voting, yes, I want this extra, and this extra. I mean, just to give you an example, the library millage passed by over 85%.
Well, the libraries in Dearborn it's a really important institution, and it
absolutely,
the public uses it. It's a really vital community institution.
It is, no question, but that's the point. So the residents have to decide. I mean, if we want to lower the millages, we have, some things are going to have to change, and operations have to change. And there's also issues with, bonding and funding for retiree healthcare. I mean, in this business too, nobody could have predicted the way healthcare has changed in the last 10 or 12 years. That's just a totally different model, and we have to fund for that. So retiree healthcare, I mean, it's not fair for anybody to sign up for a job that, 20 years later, everything they were promised doesn't come to them, that we wouldn't stand for that. So, but we also have to look at that the costs are 5 and 10 times what they were estimated to be. So we have to find a way to make that work. So there's a lot of challenging issues. I'll tell you, I've had a tremendous pleasure to be on the council. I think the amount of things that you see and the questions you ask and how you can find out. And, the first year we were on there, we had major flooding. We get thrown into the council the first week, the place flooded. It was crazy. So we had to get roll up our sleeves and find ways. And, to the credit of the mayor, he was able to secure a fleet on one weekend and cleared almost half the city. It took a few weeks to get to that point, but, so there is a lot of issues. People think, that the local government, doesn't really do much. But I disagree. You're absolutely right. And we see it in Texas. There's a lot that we are doing and to make people's lives better and more efficient on the government side.
Yeah, if I still lived in Dearborn, I would actually run to be on that charter commission because I think that would be fascinating work. Just fascinating.
Absolutely. Sally,
I would love to do that, but alas, I don't live in Dearborn anymore. So
no, but I agree with you because I've met with some constituents that had some questions on water rates because our water rates changed recently and stuff, and we've had some Zoom meetings, and I've told some of the people that were really involved that they don't. Honestly, I would love to have been on the charter commission. It's that important, and so that is some words. If we have any people out in the audience that are considering servicing, it's a 2-year time. It's a great. I mean, you're going to create the Constitution for the city. It's a big deal.
Well, I want to thank you for talking to us today, Mike, and I want to thank the audience for zooming in, for joining us in this conversation. And if you have issues that you think are relevant and you would like to talk to a member of our team, please just send me an email, text me on Facebook. Anyway, thank you again. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Thank you, Sally.